Reminder that Dominicans are not black. We are not black, and no matter how much black Americans cry about it, we are not black. We will never be black. Yes, I look black, but we are not black. And it's just a reminder to black Americans who are so pathetically forcing Dominicans to label themselves as black. We keep telling them we have our own culture. We know black, papi. They still force it on us. So just a reminder, Dominicans are not black. Period. Remember.
What are you?
Are black, Papo.
I'm not black, Dominican.
Papo, you're black.
I'm not black, Dominican.
Papo, you're black.
No, I'm not black, Dominican.
Papo, you're not Dominican, you black.
I'm not black, Dominican.
You Dominican and black.
No, not black, Dominican.
Okay. You are black.
I'm no black. Imposible. I'm no black. I'm Dominican. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm no black. Be looking just like me. Be having the same hair. I be touching you like, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same, papi. It's not the same. They try to salsa that shit off. I be like, no, it's not the same.
Well, I'm a first generation American. I'm the first American born in my family. My family immigrated from Cuba to the United States. They came with nothing. They didn't speak the language. And they came here to give me an opportunity that they didn't have had they stayed in Cuba. Black people of every single creed and race, ethnicity rather, still has to, if you have immigrated to the United States, you still have to thank African Americans for the sacrifice that they made. And I remind people of this. I remind Latins of this too. The freedoms that you experience when you come to this country are here and are available to you because black people fought for them. And this needs to be taught downers. That's 70 years ago, man. Black people were still fighting just to vote.
Listen, we have to pat vote. We have to pat ourselves in the back for what we've achieved based off of that within the period of time in which we have done it. Great point. Great point.
And have we arrived? Absolutely not. But we still have to be proud of our achievements, proud of our success, and proud of where we have come relative to the rest of society worldwide. Because I also always remind people that look at what African Americans have achieved in the U.S. compared from where we started in chattel slavery till today. Look at what African Americans have achieved and look at the rights and privileges that the African American sacrifice has afforded to every single person that's immigrated to this country. Because equal rights weren't given. They were fought for. They were earned through blood, sweat, and tears. And when you go back to who had to fight for those rights, it is a direct line all the way back to chattel slavery, from Harriet Tubman to Rosa Parks to Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to everybody, and still to the freedom fighters of this day.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? So we have so much. And when I say we, I'm talking a diaspora.
Absolutely.
I'm talking.
We're not monolithic. We're not monolithic. Absolutely.
But black people of every single creed and race, ethnicity rather. All I want to say is that I believe that in the citizenship class, that every single immigrant that steps onto this country, they have to go through a class in order to get citizenship, in order to get U.S. citizenship. And part of what that should be that is not being taught is what black people did and the civil rights movement and what black people had to go through in order for them to get the rights that they get when they come to this country. Because if every single immigrant knew what black people sacrificed for them too, not just black people, because black people kicked the door open, but a lot more people walked through that door than just black people, than just African Americans. And if they were taught this in their citizenship class, I bet you the relationship between the Latino community and the African American community would be different. The relationship between the Asian community and the and the African American community would be different. The Islamic, anybody that immigrates to the United States should look at African Americans differently. And the reason why they're not is because they're not being taught that the only reason why the U.S. is the land of opportunity is because that opportunity was fought for and bled for by African Americans.
Welcome back. The Big Bad Podcast. I'm your host. So, I seen a few clips of some dark Latinos. One was saying they're not black. The other one was saying they are black. Now, my question is, are they both wrong? Or are they both right? Is one wrong? Or is one right? Let's get to it. So like the Laz Alonso from Fast and Furious from Detroit. He's been in a few movies, Straw Dogs, Avatar. He's been in a few movies, right? I seen an old clip of him saying, Melissa Ford asked him, was he black or was he Cuban? And she said, I think she said something like, oh, I thought you was black, but you're Cuban. He said, no, I'm black first.
Keep saying we, and it's like your kind of connection with the black community, but you're Cuban. Like
I'm black first.
Yeah.
I'm black first.
So
what
I
always
ask,
tell
like,
people,
how you identify yourself.
Are you full Cuban? I'm full Cuban. I thought he was black too.
I know,
but I am black.
No,
The truth of the matter is, he's not black at all. Now, he could be negro in his language because he's Cuban. You can't be a Cuban black.
And that I'm probably the first black person immigrant here in your property.
Well, first off, said you're Cuban.
Because, black is not a race. I know everybody think black is a race. The race is Negroid. To be black, you have to come from the Emancipation Proclamation of American slavery from the South. He is not an American descendant of slavery. He is a son of an immigrant. He's the first generation immigrant, right? It's beneficial for him to say he is black because he's an actor. There are not that many Cuban roles in Hollywood.
In the last few years, you made the turn, though, from just being an actor who's successful to being a leading man. How hard is that particularly for African-American men or for black men in Hollywood?
Well, I'll tell you that's a loaded question. I'm going to say that it is hard, I think, for any color, to get to a certain level of this business because it's highly competitive, as you know, just as it is in your field. But, for us, there are less black films being produced on a yearly basis, therefore there are less jobs. Right. And there's a lot of talent out there that, we're all competing for the same small pool of work. So, when I get a job, I don't take it for granted. Yeah. I'm very appreciative and humbled by the fact that, somebody believes in me and my talent.
So what he does is says he's black and become the black guy, the go-to black guy. Because Hollywood don't really like to hire black Americans to play black American roles. That's why you see so many actors that's from African in the UK playing MLK, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, in all these different movies, and they all failing because they can't resonate with the black American spirit. Like they can't resonate with the black American spirit. They can't resonate with the struggle we have because. So most Dominicans that identify as not black, they identify as being Dominican, which they're not wrong because they're not black because black is not a race. Black is not a nationality. Well, it's an ethnic group within America because I am an American, but within America, I'm from the black ethnicity. Being black is not like being white, where white constantly spreading the parameters of who could be white. They constantly recruit more people because their numbers down. Our numbers increase. Despite how much they kill us, how much they poison the food, despite how many abortion clinics they put in our communities, despite how much they take our organs, despite how much they kill us at in the hospitals, despite how much they kill us at infancy, despite how they kill us with all these, lead paint, lead in the water, all these things they do to stop our numbers, we still grow. Despite anything, we still rise. Still we rise. We are the rolls of the cement. Even though they try to stop our growth, we continue to grow. That's why they constantly letting immigrants in to keep us at a 10% or 13% populace, because once we get our numbers up, the whole demographic of the country, it changes. We get more power. So to keep our power down, they constantly let immigrants in from the 1800s. Back in the 1800s, the Irish was considered, white. Neither was the Jews, neither was the Italians, but eventually they got to be white. So now they're letting all these immigrants in, and they're not black, but they're not really white either, but they side with the white in America because they're not taught that the black Americans are the reason why they're here in this country, the reason why they fought the civil rights, the reason why they have 14th, 13th Amendment, the reason why they could go in white communities, white establishments, work for white people, move in white neighborhoods, it's because we have to go through all the Jim Crow, the red line. We had to get hung, killed, raped, robbed, sabotaged for them to move freely within American society. You know what I'm saying? They come here to get loans, they get you see the immigrants in New York, they get the finest hotels, they get money, they get all these allotments that Americans don't get. Even white Americans don't get the shit that these immigrants are getting, but they're allowed to be here because so they are going to be the new white. It's going to be a new white buffer class. The guy Alonzo, Mr. Alonzo, I don't want to shit on him because he genuinely seems like he's a good dude. He genuinely know his history. He came from an HBCU that, you know, is a historical black American college where he got the benefit from us. He get to play black roles in which we kicked in the doors in Hollywood so he could play roles. So he's very grateful. He's very respectful. So I don't want to put no smut on his name and so on. But I do want to correct him one thing. You're not black. And you shouldn't even want to identify as black. You should identify as an Afro-Latino. Now, the word black is an American thing. We wasn't all black. Yes, we not all black. We all come from Africa descent. Yes. We all are from the Negroid race. Yes, the word Negro is actually, it's a Spanish term. Yes, we could share that. It means black, but it's not the same. We was once called Negro. We was once called color. We was once called a few things, African American, which we are not. Our identity is black. I'm black and I'm proud. That's our thing. That's not a nationwide, that's not a worldwide thing. People in Africa don't identify as black. Not everyone. Some do. Like we made it popular to be black. We made black being cool, even though it come with a cost. Being black is not, it's not easy being black. Like don't think it's a cakewalk being black. Mr. Alonzo has more in common with the Latino and the African and the Asian, being that they're all immigrants. He might identify more with the Latinos, but you can't call a Cuban guy a Puerto Rican or Puerto Rican a Cuban. You can't do that. So my whole thing is if you can't identify a Cuban as a Dominican, what makes you think you could be a Latino identified as black? I don't see the confusion. It's simple. Black is an ethnicity and it's a nationality for black Americans. The foundation of black Americans, the ADOS people. It's not all inclusive. This is not a Pan-African thing. See, a lot of people confuse black as Pan-African. It means like everybody African is considered black, and that's just not true. Ethiopians don't consider themselves black. Moroccans don't consider themselves black. A lot of people don't consider themselves black in Africa, but they shouldn't, because black's not even in their language. Well, they have their own terminology for the word black, but it's not. We say black. That's American. That's English shit. And let's be clear. Every Cuban don't feel like him. They don't feel like they're black. And every Dominican don't feel like they're not black. You know what I'm saying? And every black American don't agree that what I'm saying. Some black Americans think that all Africans are black, but they're not. They're idiots. Some people think that all people of melanated skin from Africa are black. That's not true. Africans are Africans, and whether tribe they are from, whether nation they are from, that's what they are. Black was never a thing. Black is a new man-made thing. Black come from white supremacy. Now, granted, we all are subject to white supremacy, which is really white inferiority, because they're supremacists, they're supreme beings. They wouldn't interfere with our growth and our action and our development. These are inferior people keeping greater people down. These are 1% of people keeping down 99% of the population. If 3% of us got on point, this should be over with, but we don't. And to get on code, we got to know who we are. We can't identify as the same people. To identify who you are and your investment and your status into this coalition to dismantle white supremacy, we have to be individuals. We can't be one group. We can move on one accord with one goal, but we are different people. We have to have different conversations in order for us to move forward. And that's my thing. My thing is, we are not all black. We are different people. Black is something I never became. Black is something I've always been. Black is not new to me. I'm not black and something else. I'm not black and a Latino. I'm not black and Caribbean. I'm not black and African. I'm not half black. I'm not part black. I am black. I'm ethnic. I'm ethnically black. I'm culturally black. I'm consciously black. It's a difference. I know what black people feel. I know how they think. I know what they go through. I know what helps them. I know what hurts them. I know who helps them. I know who hurts them. I know the history. I am of the history. My lineage is of the history. My grandparents are from the South. My grandparents' was actual slaves. My grandparents knew slaves. That existed in my time. Slavery didn't stop in fucking 1864. There was slavery up until the 1960s. Sharecropper was still going on in the 70s. I'm a descendant of people who was robbed for land. I'm a descendant of people who own land in the South right now. That's not an immigrant story. The immigrants wasn't promised nothing. They wasn't promised 40 acres and a mule. They didn't have 100 and something towns burned down or flooded down. That's not their experience. They have no knowledge of this. They have no knowledge of Jim Crow, of all the hardships we have to go through, chucking and jiving, being scared. I gotta look down when white women come. They don't know the experiences. All they know is freedom and fruits. They don't know how it feels to starve in this country. Black Americans are still starving in this country. To this day, people are struggling for shelter, for food. That's not the immigrant experience. The immigrants come here and feel entitled. Look at these new fucking immigrants today. They are entitled. They come in demanding better food. They come in here demanding schooling. They come in here demanding jobs. Well, we had to fight for everything we have. See, immigrants get to come and just get everything handed to them. While we had to fight for everything we had. Immigrants don't break a sweat in this country. Never bled in this country. How many Cubans can you name that cops killed during traffic stops? How many Africans can you name that had a house raided, that had a house burnt down, demolition? How many Cuban communities that have been given crack, or that have been given AIDS, or that have been targeted by police brutality? How many times, how many immigrant banks they had that have been robbed? How many communities and towns that they had that have been sabotaged or being used by eminent domain? How many Chinatowns been moved by eminent domain? Immigrants have a different experience. It is not the same, and we are not the same, and we need people to know that it's offensive to act like we are the same. That's my whole premise. Others can identify as, their nationalities. The Jamaicans identify as Jamaican. Caribbeans. People are broken down into groups within umbrellas. Black is not really an umbrella. The Negroid race or African diaspora is the umbrella. But black belongs to one group of people. Now, I asked myself, why would he identify as black even though he's Cuban? He's Cuban and black, but I'm just black. I can't be black and Cuban. So it can't work one way, not the other way. Like, I'm black, like my brother's black, my sister black. We are the same type of black. We not black and something. We not a mix of black. We not clothing ourselves in something else. We are just black. He's cloaking himself in black as in Black American. So he get to go on podcasts and platforms and speak for Black Americans as if he's one of them. At the same time, he double speaks. He speaks for Latinos too. And he speaks for Afro Latinos more than he does the actual Latino. Those are conflicts of interest. Because no matter if you a dark Latino or a light Latino, y'all share the same culture. Like a Black American and a white American, we share the same culture. The difference is the Black American is more oppressed than the white American. The white American does the oppressing. I'm sure that's the same goes in Latin American countries, but yet and still, you still have more in common with your white counterpart than you have to do with the Black American. Our cultures is different, our foods is different, our mind frames is different, our experience is different, our blood is different. Yes, I heard him say that. He said we more focus on where the shit dropped us off as opposed to where the shit's picked us up.
Everyone thinks that you are like the black lineage,
all right, let me explain how it works. This is another thing that I feel like we as black people get caught up in, that
semantics.
That separates us as opposed to uniting us. We get caught up in where the ship dropped us off versus where the ship picked us up. You know what I'm saying? We all come from the same root. It's just a tree with different branches. The same boat that picked up your ancestors picked up my ancestors. Only they dropped yours off here. They made a pit stop in the Caribbean and dropped mine off. But my ancestors still dealt with slavery. Still dealt with being, having their family and their lives ripped from them and having to come back from colonialism and slavery. You know, so, and it's not just African Americans, it's Afro-Cubans, it's Afro-Dominicans, it's Afro-Puerto Ricans. Like, all these people got to get out of their colonialized minds and stop thinking, oh, I'm not this, I'm this. Okay, yeah, you can be Latin, but you're black first.
And the separatism that takes us apart when we all have the same struggle. We all experience the same
100%.
struggle.
Because when I walk into a room, they ain't thinking, oh, we're going to give him a pass because he's Latin.
Cuban, yeah.
Or if a cop pulls me over, he's not like, oh, okay, I'm not going to shoot him or I'm not going to beat his ass because he's Cuban. No, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? And I'm dealing with the same struggle. So we all gotta unite and fight for the struggle together because we're all dealing with the exact same.
Now, that sounds good and dandy, but yet and still, people of the Africans, the tribes who came to America aren't the same tribes that went to the Caribbean or went to South America. These are different tribes. And even with if it was true, the Africans of America didn't breed with the Iroquois and the Taino natives or the Spaniards. Besides, you know, like probably Louisiana and Mississippi, that area is more, you know, Taino, Iroquois, they're more the same. But the Northerners, you know, the Pequot, the Cherokee, the Blackfoot, the Creek, the Seminole, all the East Coast Native Americans are different from those in the Caribbean. That's a different admixture that makes us different. And also, you know, we have different European admixtures. You know, we have you know, French, Spaniard, people from the Netherlands who made Amsterdam and Harlem and all that, Portugal. It's just different admixtures that makes us different. And different Europeans ran different types of slavery, different type of programs. Like, see, we have the one-drop rule in America. That doesn't apply in South America. Y'all have caste systems, mestizos, and all those type of different classes, different things that we don't really have. A lot of Latinos believe in whitening a race up. Like Brazil, in South America, after slavery, they imported a bunch of Europeans, just like America did too during the 1800s. They put in a lot of Europeans to not so much see in South America they bring in Europeans to whiten the whole race. In North America, they bring in Europeans to block us out, not to mix with us. It was to keep us in poverty, keep us from jobs, keep us from multiplying in numbers. It was a buffer zone to separate the white elites, which was the slave masters, from the actual slaves who wanted their reparations, who wanted the 40 acres and a mule, who was actually rebelling and fighting back. We've been through hundreds, if not thousands, of race riots that this Cuban man haven't experienced. See, he'd been under not only slavery, but he'd been under a dictative regime, Fidel Castro. We haven't experienced dictatorship. Even though we had some fucked up presidents and we had J. Edgar Hoover, we didn't really have a dictatorship. We didn't have communism. We have a form of democracy, more of a republic. It's a whole different political experience. With that being said, being from the South, being from America, we know direct oppression. We know experiences he can never experience. His people never experienced the KKK. He never heard stories of his grandmother's grandparents talking about running from white boys or killing white people or they relatives hanging from trees. He can't relate to that. He can't relate to Mary Turner, husband being killed at 19, then she been hung from a tree upside down, set on fire, burned, then her stomach ripped open, then her baby being stepped on. He can't relate to the brutality that we actually experience. Though he appreciates it and he does says a lot of valid points that make me like the guy, not to disrespect him, but it made me like him more than I like the average immigrant, especially in Hollywood, because he know more knowledge than most people, and he give it up. My thing is, it's better for you to identify as a Cuban than a Black American or an Afro-Cuban. I'm going to tell you why. Because once you say you are Black, that means you erase your whole history. You erase part of your identity to absorb ours. Now, most of the time, being Black doesn't come with no rewards. It comes with a lot of punishments. But for him in Hollywood, he gets to be Black American roles. He gets to be in Black American spaces.
In the last few years, you made the turn, though, from just being an actor who's successful to being a leading man. How hard is that particularly for African-American men or for Black men in Hollywood?
Well, I'll tell you that's a loaded question. You know, I'm going to say that that it is hard, I think, for any color, you know, to get to a certain level of this business because it's highly competitive, as you know, just as it is in your field. But, you know, for us, you know, there are less black films being produced on a yearly basis. Therefore, there are less jobs. Right. And there's a lot of talent out there that, you know, we're all competing for the same small pool of work. So, you know, when I get a job, I don't take it for granted. Yeah. I'm very appreciative and humbled by the fact that, you know, somebody believes in me and my talent.
As opposed to, he says he's Cuban, a lot of times he'll get looked over because we want a black American. So he get to play that part. I don't know a lot about Cuban. I don't know a lot about, you know, Fidel Castro. But this is why identity matters in America. We could be allies, fine. All day we could be allies. Yes, we have some of the same interests, but the same doesn't see similar interests. People confuse similar interests for the same interests. No, we both been through a form of oppression, but different. It ain't the same. Shadow slavery in America is not the same as slavery in Cuba or Hispaniola or Dominican Republic. It's not quite the same. It's a whole different experience. But we need identity. We need Puerto Ricans to say their experiences. We need to know their heroes. Because when you say you're black, that means you're taking up all our heroes, all our fights. You get to get credit for things you have no contribution to. You have no ties to. You have no ties to civil rights. You have no ties to Martin Luther King, MLK, Harriet Tubman, none of the inventions we did, none of the fights, none of the riots. You don't have that connection, so you shouldn't identify with that. What you should do is identify who you are and let us know who your people are and what your contributions are. Because we don't benefit from Cubans or Latinos. They all benefit from us. And it ain't their fault. It's the American system fault. But we know the difference. We know what's going on. And we don't like people using our identity for anything, for clout, for movie roles. We don't want to see other black, and we don't want to see other groups who identify as black playing our heroes and our icons. We don't want to see an immigrant playing Tupac. We don't want to see an immigrant playing MLK. We don't want to see an immigrant playing, Tina Turner, for example, or Patti LaBelle. Anybody we admire. We want to see our people in those positions because that's our fight. That's our fruit because we did the harvesting. No immigrant did no harvesting in America. They just come and eat the fruit. And we tired of sharing our fruit. Now, we don't mind sharing because we always shared, but this ain't the era or the time for that no more. That shit is fading away. All that, we all black, Pan-African, that shit is dying. We are separating, delineating from other groups, and it's necessary because we need other groups to know how great we are and what we did. And we need to get what we deserve without interference. We need our reparations. We need people out of our way. We don't need immigrants speaking for us who speak against us, agents of chaos. We don't need nobody who has melanin skin to be in positions that real black Americans fought for, kick the door for, kick the door down for, and yet we don't reap the benefits. There should never been a Barack Obama in position. There should never be a Kamala Harris in position because those positions have not been filled by black Americans to this day. No real black American has exceeded them positions. So for a first generation immigrant to be the first president or the first black president or the first vice black president is an insult because they're not the first black nothing. That's the first Nigerian or the first Indian or the first Jamaican or the first Haitian in positions. It's not really black. It's not a black American. It's not the people who did the reaping, but yet these people are eating the fruits. It's time for black Americans to be the first in everything. The first president should have been an all black American from the South or from the East Coast or the West Coast, but he shouldn't have lineage with white or immigrant in his blood. Shouldn't be a Colin Powell. That shit never had happened. His position took from a black man. Obama's position took from a black man. Kamala Harris took from a black American woman. She didn't earn that spot. Nikki Haley and her slavery denying ass, her racist denying ass, her name changing ass, her name Nimrata, don't deserve to be in nowhere politically. She should be a politician in her own country, which is India. Nikki Haley, aka Nimrata, is a goddamn Punjab. She is not an American. She didn't earn her spot. She denies racism when her dad couldn't even get a job in white society. Her mom couldn't sell to white people. Her dad had to teach in the HBCU. Black money fed Nikki Haley her whole life that put her through a white college that we can't even go to. Our dollars put her in a university that we can't even go to. And now she's an immigrant talking as if she's white. This is why we can't have immigrants in our mix. I talk a lot of shit about immigrants, right? There are some good people, and some people do deserve a chance in life, but not at the expense of my people and not cutting the line. I can get jobs after we get ours. That's how we running this. Everybody deserves a fair shot, but not a fairer one than we had. Everyone deserves a better life, but not a better one than we had in our country. Nobody deserves more than we do in our own country. I don't believe not one role that belongs to a black American should ever be played by any immigrant. I don't think that one scholarship or one diversity play as far as being in workplace or a university should go to any immigrant. That should all be black American shit. We need, if we was in slavery for 240 whatever years, we need 240 years of priority over at least everybody who's not an American. We should be the top pick over everyone who was not a natural born American. People who don't have no ties from the Civil War, for civil rights, from fuck the Civil War, from even from the Revolution, should have no priority. They should not live in better communities than us. They should not own more businesses than us. They should not even be in our communities owning anything. That's just the facts. Shouldn't no Arab be at our gas stations. Shouldn't no Chinese people should be able to sell food to us. We should be in their communities selling to them. That's what it should be. This shit is all reversed and fucking spun upside down and inside out. Nigga, they shouldn't be in our communities. We should be in their communities. They shouldn't eat off us. We should eat off them because they don't belong here. They didn't earn the right to get nothing they got and to look down on us. We should have the right to deport these people. We should have the right to vote, deport people fuck out of our country and our communities. That's where I'm at with it. I'm on some different shit. People want reparations. I want a lot more than reparations. I want the right to control my community against all immigrants. I want immigrants being the second-class citizens or third or fourth-class citizens. Not us. We was here. We deserve more. We wasn't barefoot. We wasn't fucking somewhere in a goddamn shanty town. There's nothing wrong with being an immigrant. There's something wrong with being an immigrant and lying. There's something wrong with being an immigrant and lying to get the benefits of the natives of this country. If people had identified as their nationality as immigrants, a lot of spots that went to immigrants, such as, affirmative action in these colleges, would have went to people who deserved it, which is the black Americans. So you got people like the Nigerians who come here and act like they're doing better than us, but they're not. What they're doing is lying on applications to get our positions. Every dollar an immigrant takes from a black American. Put it this way. If there was no immigrants in this country at all, like from 1800s, like there was no Italians, there was no Jews, there was just black Americans, and let's say there was no abortion clinics, America would be population of probably about 200,000, 300,000. It might be the same population since we have all the abortions because, 75 million black Americans been aborted since abortion been open. Some people would have had grandkids and multiplied too. So I'm thinking if it's 50 million of us now, plus the addition 70 million would have lived and multiply, let's say by 3. That'll put America at about 250 million black Americans, and it'll put the whites at 100. So it probably been the same because they keep our birth rates down. They keep us in prison. They kill our men. They hung our men. They destroy our communities. They make it hard for us to get employment, to support our families. They do everything to keep our numbers down, and they flood us with immigrants. They flood us with outsiders. They flood us with Arabs, Africans, Latinos, Asians. Everybody's in our community, but we ain't nobody's community. Everybody's allowed to be amongst us, but we're not allowed to be amongst anybody. Everybody get to live the American dream while we get the American nightmare. That's the difference between any dark Latino and an actual black American. Y'all all come here, even Africans, they all come here with the American dream while we get to live the American nightmare every day. And that's why we need other people to identify as them. We need a whole separate category from black Americans because we not absorbing other groups because we don't need to absorb y'all. The more crime y'all do, see, people think that the black American is a crime-ridden society. It's really not. When Africans do a crime, we get blamed for it. When an Afro-Latino do a crime, we get blamed for it. When a Haitian do a crime, we get blamed for it. So if we could take away those immigrant statistics out of our community, if we could take those same immigrants out of our way politically and take the same illegal immigrant or same immigrants out of our schools that Black Americans are supposed to be, the Black American will thrive at least 50% better than what it's doing now. Our crime would be lower and we'd be more educated and making more money. Because every dollar an immigrant makes is supposed to be a dollar a Black American was made. Like, when Africans come here, they come here with nothing. So when they come in and get money, they take for somebody else. When an immigrant come here with nothing, that means they come in to take for somebody else. When any European who comes here, they come in to take for somebody else. And that's my discrepancy with other people identifying as Black. You come in to take from somebody else. When you say you're Black publicly, doesn't mean on paper you're Black. It just means you come to get some of these Black benefits because it benefits you. HBCUs, you can say you Black. Even Ivy Leagues, you say you Black. The diversity, you get to be the diverse person in the group. You get to be the token. Well, you never deserve that. Kamala Harris don't deserve to be where she be at. Nikki Haley don't deserve to be where she be at. Ramaswamy don't deserve where he to be at. So a lot of people who are the first aren't of the natives. There are other groups, the Jamaicans, the Haitians, the Caribbeans, the Africans, and none of them should be in their positions. There should be no African group of people doing better than any Black American in any category because they're not better, they're not smarter, they're not harder workers at all. We invented more things than any group. The Black American has invented more things than Africa combined in the last 500 years. 50 million people have done more than 1.4 billion people as far as contribution to the world, as far as making everybody eats off us. I mean, people eat off Africa resources, but people eat off the inventions of the Black American, from surgery, from medicines, from technology, phones, microphones, the personal computers. You look at me right now with the contribution of Black Americans. Well, a lot of groups, and they had a contribution into the internet. You know, Nigerians have played a part, but we can't say the same for any Cubans, any Latinos, any Asians. They haven't. I mean, Asians might make clones and copy things, but they haven't invented nothing. The Black American is one minded group that invented more things per capita. There's not a group that invented more things than us. There's not a group that been stolen as far as patents and inventions than us. There's not a group, there's not an ethnicity that have been sabotaged more than us anywhere in the world. That's why we are so great, because it takes people to sabotage us for them to thrive. No one wants to compete with us on a fair ground. That's why we always get the bad end of the deal. That's why so many people want to keep us down. That's why so many people form against us, because we're so great. We're so gifted. And being so great and gifted, we have to keep people out so we can keep our own identity, because the more people who comes and identify as us, water us down. It takes from us. It benefits them. It'll benefit us. And that's why I'm saying when Dominicans say they're not Black, they're right. They're not Black. There are Negro Dominicans. There are Afro Dominicans, and the word Afro is the English word too. So they copied us again and used Afro, because that was our thing. We had Afros. We are the Afro American, African American. But other people took it. It became Afro Latino, Afro Cuban, Afro this, Afro that, Afro. But it's really a Black American thing that is copying us though. But that's fine. You can take the Afro part and add it to whatever you want. Just don't say you're Afro-American. Just don't call yourself a Black American. Just don't use the word Black. Use whatever word Black you use in your native language to describe the word Black. But keep the Black American, respectfully, because it's offensive when people identify as us and not us. You can identify as us, but we can't identify as you. Let me tell me, you could be a Black and Latino, not even being mixed. You really are Latino. You really are a Cuban. You really are a Jamaican, a Haitian, or whatever. But you could be Black too. But yeah, we can't be a Black American. Can't be a Jamaican. We can't be a Haitian. I mean, even if we identify as something else, is not real. Everybody get to identify as something they're not. We're not playing them identity games. You either are us or you're not us. And fair is fair. It's cool to be an ally. It's cool to admire us. It's cool to even indulge in our culture. We don't indulge in yours. It's fine. Embrace how we make music. Make a lane for yourself. Embrace how we do comedy. Make a lane for yourself. Embrace how we act and make a lane for yourself. You have to come here and follow suit between black or white because you can't make a way because your culture is not that influential. Your identity is not influential. In America, there's not a lot of Cubans. There's not a lot of any group besides maybe Mexicans. But Mexicans aren't supposed to be here. Most Mexicans here are here illegally. So they can't really say nothing politically. But Puerto Ricans and other smaller groups get to use them as a Latino bloc. But they're not the same. They're not monolith anyway. But that's the slick shit of it. We don't need a monolith bloc. The whole political system is begging for our vote. The Democrats need us. We don't need the Democrats. Joe Biden don't know what the fuck to do because he's losing so many votes because he's losing us. He's not losing Jamaicans. It don't matter if he loses Jamaicans. It don't matter if he loses a Latino interest. None of them matter. It don't matter if he loses a gay interest. It don't matter if he loses a Jewish interest. None of them matter as far as numbers go. We are the numbers. We are let's be clear. We are the biggest ethnic group in America. White is not an ethnic group. It's not. It is not. It's a collective of like 34 countries. Maybe 54. I forgot how many countries it is in. They're a collective group. You have Spaniards, French, German, Irish, Russian. All these people considered white, but it's not group. There's only one black American group. Jamaicans are not enough number. Haitians don't have enough numbers. Venezuelans don't have enough numbers. Puerto Ricans don't have enough numbers. Nobody have a raw block. We are the only block that's 50 million strong. There's no 50, and that can legally vote. We don't need IDs. We don't need citizenship. We are the citizens. We was here before America was called America. We was here since the colonies. And not only that, let's tie this back in. A lot of people just want to say we are African. No, we are more than African. We are the same natives that was reclassified as Negroes too. The same black natives, the same dark-skinned natives that was reclassified as Negro, we are them. So we didn't just come from Africa. No, we are the natives here too. And that's the difference. So we not immigrants at all. For one, we are captives and we are natives mixed in. And that's a whole different experience. We don't know the immigrant experience. We don't know no American dream. We're like the buffer zones. Every immigrant is used to make a wedge between the real black Americans and the real white Americans that founded this country. Y'all get to make shades of gray and make the foggy the water up and distract us while we focus, man. So, in conclusion, a Dominican is not a black. A Cuban is not black. Yes, they are melanated and they are dark and we all share African DNA. But African is not black. Black is the black American. That's a Big Bad Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, man.